Hey guys, welcome back to this apparently one sweatshirt that I have. My name is Maxine. I have Avoidant Personality Disorder and ADHD, and I'm in kind of a silly, goofy mood today, but I want to talk about performance anxiety and specifically how that very directly informs my social anxiety. I think this is going to be pretty much relevant to all of you because I can't imagine anybody with avoidant personality disorder not struggling with performance anxiety. But I don't know how helpful it's going to be because I don't really have any advice in this video. This is just one of those videos where I'm just sort of verbalizing the thoughts in my head that I've been thinking lately. But for me, for some background, this concept of performance anxiety is sort of like the foundation of my avoidant personality disorder. And I can actually trace this back as like a key feature of my personality from my earliest memories. I've mentioned this in the past, but one example I have is when I was pretty young, like maybe 6 or 7. My dad, who was teaching my older brother how to ride a dirt bike, really wanted to teach me as well, and I straight up refused because although I wanted to learn and I thought it would be fun, it was completely overridden by this immense fear of not being able to catch on and disappointing or frustrating my dad in some way by not being able to do it. And actually what's even funnier is this is actually just occurring to me right now as I'm verbalizing this, is that before that, when I learned how to ride a bicycle, my dad tried to teach me how to ride a bicycle, without training wheels. And it was like, you have to learn. Some kids, I guess, you push them once and they just go. But I wasn't catching on right away. And I was immediately embarrassed as literally a child learning how to ride a bike without training wheels. So how old? 5 or 6? And so after a few tries of me not getting it, I was like, whatever, I don't want to. And then sometime during that week, I went out by myself and taught myself how to do it without anybody around and anybody watching. And that was the only way that I felt comfortable learning how to do something new. So that's going all the way back, and that has followed me my whole entire life. I have never felt comfortable learning something new or trying something new with people watching, which of course has bled into all areas of my life. One of the most embarrassing days of my life was when my current partner and I had just started dating, and he was into snowboarding, and he took me snowboarding with a couple of his friends for the first time to teach me how to snowboard. I was trying to hold in literally vomit the whole time. I wanted to throw up. I was so nervous. I couldn't have fun because I was so humiliated by having to learn something new with an audience. So, of course, that bleeds into jobs. My job anxiety was almost completely based on this idea of what if I make a mistake? What if I'm not able to perform to the level of the expectations that either I have or that I perceive to have on me? It's been life ruining, that theme of performance anxiety alone. But then lately I've been considering this concept of just social anxiety, which is what a lot of people think of avoidant personality disorder as, is just extreme social anxiety. And it's like, and I've just been thinking, like, what does that even mean, social anxiety, you know? Because if somebody asked me, do you have social anxiety? I would say yes, very, very much so. I am often very, very nervous in social situations. I'm comfortable by myself, and I am uncomfortable with others. But that's not actually 100% true across the board, because I do have some people in my life. I will always use my sister as an example because she's number one, who I can 100% be myself around. There is quite literally nothing I could say or do in front of my sister that she would judge me for. I know that for a fact. And in a relationship like that, I thrive. I am texting her 24/7 because I am energized in that environment. I become quite extroverted when I'm with like my mom and my sister. We're talking over each other, we're laughing, we're joking. I feel like that's when I'm my truest self. I feel funny and I feel like fun when I'm with her, and I just don't feel like that around most people. And that, I think even that leads me to believe, now that I understand the concept of masking, which is a social performance, which, by the way, as a little aside, masking we hear a lot now being talked about in the context of neurodivergence. But neurotypicals mask too. There are always going to be situations for all people where they have to perform a little bit, whether they're like putting on a presentation, public speaking, at an interview. There are always situations where it's not necessarily appropriate to just be who you would be with your friends. The reason that it's talked about so heavily in the neurodivergent community is because we have to mask more often. There are more situations where it is considered socially inappropriate for us to just be ourselves. So just to clarify what I mean when I say masking, we all do that. But what that is it's a performance. And for me, it's the situations with people where their opinion matters, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable just being fully myself, which is most people that I know, you know. Those are the situations where I get anxiety because I have to perform, and I'm worried, or I don't have to perform necessarily, but I feel like I have to perform. And I become very, very nervous and concerned about my ability to perform to whatever standard that I feel like I have to. And like another example that I think of that reinforces this idea, at least for me personally, is that it's like there's the two ends of the spectrum. There's my sister, who I can be fully myself around. And then, like I've talked about in the past, there's like strangers that I can be myself around because because their opinion is like not even on my radar. And there are situations with like strangers where I have absolutely no social anxiety, to where I might even enjoy the interaction. Like when I go to the little grocery store and I have to check out with the cashier, it's either I don't feel like I need to perform, or I just feel very capable of performing in that little, brief, impersonal sort of interaction, where I can, crack a joke, be charming, be polite, and like get through it successfully. And I've done it so many times. I know that I can do that, and it's not a big deal. So I don't feel social anxiety. Some people do. Some people would feel social anxiety going through a cashier. So, but for me, I don't. It's that middle group of people where I know them enough that their opinion of me matters, but I don't know them well enough to just like fully be myself. And that's where the anxiety sits. People, coworkers, acquaintances, friends of friends, or really just friends. Even most of my friends are not close enough for me to feel fully open with them. So I don't necessarily have advice for this issue. I'm assuming that just practicing authenticity, practicing self-acceptance, and building confidence in yourself and your abilities would naturally relieve a lot of this performance anxiety that we feel. But I just wanted to bring this up because sometimes for me, a change in perception, a change in perspective is like the push that I need to change the way that I think about something. And that can really lead to, more realizations and be helpful in the long term. And I think if we sit here and say like, well, I have social anxiety, and it's just like, that's just, I'm socially anxious. I'm nervous about interacting with others. If you just put that blanket over it, maybe that's less helpful than asking like, why though? Like, why am I anxious about interacting with people? Well, for me at least, it's this fear of being unable to perform. And so again, like, that's as far as I've gotten in my thought process, but maybe changing the way that we think about that can help lead us to, better strategies to mitigating some of that anxiety. So let me know down below if this resonates, or if you have any tips for overcoming this sort of anxiety beyond what I mentioned briefly. And beyond that, I just want to again say thank you guys so much for all of your super nice, supportive comments, specifically on the last video I posted, which was my first vlog. I was really nervous to post that video, just because it was something different and I wasn't sure how it would be received. But you guys seemed to like it, and to be honest, it was really quite a fun video for me to make, surprisingly. So I will be doing more of those, and there's more of us in the Discord now, and it's getting kind of fun in there. We're starting to like figure out what we're doing. So if you're not, if you're interested, we'd love to have you over there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.